I will call upon you! What's up, my archfiends of chaos? This is your king of the night, Vincent Valentine X Turk, and here's one of my other Final Fantasy videos I've been wanting to do for a long time. This has nothing to do with the remake, by the way. This is another Final Fantasy VII topic I wanted to personally talk about, so this is exactly what I was actually going to try to talk about, and I was going to talk about Sephiroth's childhood. And what was Sephiroth's childhood like? Since I kind of wanted to go back and touch up on my Origins videos. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Yeah, subscribe. No, but seriously, subscribe to my channel if you want some really good content. Since I've been lacking on content lately. I've been going through things you already know. So I have been getting to there. Plus, I'm also subscribed to this channel. Let's see, what's the name of this channel that I'm listening to my Distance Worlds on off 23 for the Distance Worlds music that I'm using for this video. So copyright not intended. This is actually using music for this video. So unfortunately, the Ultimedium articles and interviews, we never got a full answer of what Sephiroth's childhood was like. Now, in the beginning, his childhood was exactly like us. Go to school, go and stuff like that. But he was ostracized as a kid for being different. And Sephiroth was smart enough to know that he was different and that he never fit in with anybody else because he was, made differently because he wasn't like other children. Not to mention, the only person he knew that was close to parenting him was Professor Hojo, but Professor Hojo never told Sephiroth that he was his father, but he raised him in the laboratory and in Nibelheim Manor, and of course he enrolled in Shinra Military Academy because remember, Sephiroth's origin would start with Vincent, Lucretia, and Hojo, and Vincent being turned down by Lucretia. And that stuff happens, try to cancel the experiment, fails to do it, gets involved, and then, Hojo impregnates Lucretia, out comes Sephiroth. So to start off, that's what would happen. The baby was taken away from Lucretia and was forced into instant experimentation. And that experimentation is what made Sephiroth even stronger than even before, even though he was already strong enough coming out of the womb. He was strong enough to hurt Lucretia so bad that it put her in a near-death state from childbirth. So, but then later on he'd be a kid. And after he would be a kid, growing up and going to school, but ostracized by his classmates, he'd be sent to Shinra Military Academy and be the first, be one of the first class soldiers later on. But as time went on, he went to the ranks of Shinra, trained, did even hard missions, even as a regular base infantryman. Sephiroth has pretty much exceeded expectations. Professor Hojo and President Shinra was so proud of their experiment that he actually became, as a teenager, Sephiroth pretty much became the ranks of one of the very first out of the ranks of the first class soldier. Given his Masamune as his possible graduation gift from the Shinra Military Academy, and because Sephiroth probably liked samurais back in the day, so that's probably where he's got the idea to get the Masamune. Hojo's probably gifted him with the Masamune and, the first class soldier title. Sephiroth was a success. As a matter of fact, Professor Hollander was actually trying to get right up on Professor Hojo's experiments and try to create their own brand of soldier using the same thing, using Genova cells and putting things inside women's wombs to make, the other two of the three friends. later on known as Angel and Genesis. So pretty much, when Sephiroth exceed expectations, the other two would later on to join Sephiroth in the ranks of first class soldier, and that would be Angel and Genesis. Even though they were failures because Professor Hollander was not as good as Professor Hojo. It really makes me sick to say that Professor Hojo is actually good at something because I hate the character. Me being a Vincent, me being a Vincent fan, but factual wise, he was actually more qualified to create powerful soldiers. Even though Hojo has disregarded morality and actually and made a whole bunch of attempts to create the perfect soldier by taking so many people and turn them into those monsters you've seen at the reactor. So even with the attempts of such disgusting experimentation, Hojo has got one right through Lucretia's kid's son, Sephiroth. So this will actually give the perfect bond between the three friends and why they're so close to each other. Hence why Sephiroth disregards any mission, even henceforth why Sephiroth disregards any and all missions with both Angel and Genesis, because he doesn't want to capture his friends, because those two were his best buddies. Those were pretty much, they even felt more like family than Hojo was. Though Hojo was not beyond giving advice. He isn't beyond giving advice to Sephiroth when Sephiroth needs it, but his true family was the three friends: himself, Genesis, and Angel. They would train with each other 24/7. They go on missions together. They ate together. They did, everything together. Probably talked about girls together. Who knows? Like any normal friendship. So that's why when Genesis deserted, it was hard for Sephiroth to take it. Matter of fact, Sephiroth denied. Luckily, because of the denial of Sephiroth doing those missions. Luckily, Zack actually came at the right time, because Zack took up Sephiroth's missions. Hence what actually helped Zack to actually get a little higher rank, because he took on high class missions that Sephiroth was supposed to take, but Sephiroth, understandably so, doesn't want to go out to the people who he thinks is family. He believes Angel and Genesis are the only family he had. That's another reason why he's lost himself to the darkness once he found out who he is. But it's also for the fact when Sephiroth actually went to the Mako reactor and found out that he was a project, he was the perfect Project Sephiroth, using the matter of Genova cells, and and all that stuff. He looks back to realize that his life was set up to be the ultimate hero. His life was set up to be this savior, this hero. Even though Sephiroth really just wanted to, kind of wanted to have a normal, life, but still being a soldier. He never wanted this to happen. His life was set up. Of course, it worked in that favor, because Sephiroth finally figured out his destiny was to rule the planet, even rule over Shinra, instead of work with Shinra. So it's caused him to be misguided. Plus, he was traumatized that all that stuff was put in him, and all those people lost their lives and turned to monsters just to create him, over unethical experiments done in the name unethical experiments done in the name of science. Well, this is where science gets evil, because pretty much Sephiroth figured out that's what his whole life was meant to be. That nothing else, he can never have a wife. He can never live a normal kid. He can't even be the director or soldier, for the fact that it's hard to be a hero but also feel like you're a monster, because you're created the same way as the other monsters that were turn into monsters by trying to attempt to create him. But the point is, it was hard for him to live in, even living life with Shinra, for the fact that Shinra, Hojo, and everybody he thought was on his side was actually turned against him. Actually forced him to be what he is. So, understandably so, Sephiroth would get upset. And then also what makes me think that this is a possibility for how Sephiroth grew up is also Genesis. When Genesis says, "No luck, you're a monster. No such luck, my friend. You're a monster. You're like them, you're a monster." And that's why Zack was trying to shut Genesis up, because Sephiroth was having a major panic attack, understandably so, because his whole life he was meant to be a freak of nature, just branded with a better label like hero and savior. That's why he got angry and turned his back on humanity, because he feels like humanity's turned their back on him. And then, it's a good thing. The good thing is, at least he never found out what happened to Lucretia Crescent, his real mother. Because then he'd be even more pissed that this is the way it is. But he figures out that humans are just awful people. And technically, that's just the real world. That's the realistic world we live in, is that people are full of shit. They're just horrible people. You just can't fathom or try to understand why people would do such horrible things to create a person that people could look up to, only to put their faith in everything and beliefs into one company. And that's what Shinra did. President Shinra being the person who paid for the experiment and donated all the billions of dollars on Professor Hojo's research. Professor Hojo not only impregnating Lucretia Crescent, not only doing that, but sticking Genova cells white in her room, and then the room pretty much nearly killing her to create the ultimate warrior, the ultimate god, pretty much a god made out of man. That's why when you fight Sephiroth in the final battle, he has the 6 wings and stuff like that. When he has the when he has the 6 wings and stuff like that, when it plays the One Ring Angel, that's why he figures of himself as a god, because he's actually a god made from man. And what do we learn? So what do we learn from playing God? What do we learn? It never goes well. It never goes well. Playing God never goes well at all. Matter of fact, it turned out bad because, well, he hates humanity. You create a god. The humans created a god that ends up hating the people that he's supposed to protect. But it's one of those lessons that, trying to create a god, a man-made god, does not really turn out really well, because, well, humans are supposed to have limits. Humans are supposed to have limitations and imperfections. They're designed to have that. And when you try to go out your way to take away those flaws, then, yeah, understandably so, it's gonna come back. It's the sins of the father. The father being Hojo. It's pretty much, that's why, like I said again, I'll say it again. Everything that happened bad in Final Fantasy VII was Hojo's fault. Professor Hollander creating his own brand of first-class soldiers because he wanted to copy Hojo. Everything Sephiroth did because it was Hojo's fault, because Sephiroth was created by Hojo. So, like I said. And then if you count Advent Children the Remnants, part of Sephiroth. Sephiroth again was created by Hojo. So it goes back to why it's Hojo's fault. But Sephiroth's life was designed for him to be a narcissistic god for man, because of a corporation's greed. So that's what I think. What Sephiroth's grown up life is. And again, this is a speculation video because none of the Ultimate Media guides have anything that goes behind Sephiroth's life. I'm only taking cues from Crisis Core and also stuff from Dirge of Cerberus and other sources too, because the Ultimate Media doesn't have it. But also, this is a speculation of what his life was like growing up. So may the crystal be with you. Thank you for watching this origin video, and may the crystal be with you.